picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say, and so if you can find a visual that shows what you did, that shows what the outcome was, that can tell the story a lot better than just a paragraph where you talk about it and make claims. Hi, my name's Hannibal, I'm Head of Operations at IG, and today I'm going to be talking about case studies and how to make them into more compelling stories. So the first thing to consider when you're going about writing a case study is, what do you want to say? Rather than approaching it from the perspective of what have we got to talk about, what have we done, think about it from the client's perspective of what they need to know, what you want to tell them. That might mean showing them a problem that they can relate to. It might mean showing how you're familiar with their industry, your credentials with their competitors or colleagues, or it might be showing off some sort of innovative solution or approach you think that they might not be familiar with, they might not have considered for their particular situation. If you've got a clear idea of that, of what you're trying to emphasize, that will shape both the content of the case study and also the design. So what is the typical structure of a case study? Well, not reinventing the wheel here, but most case studies are a story and they follow the typical beginning, middle, end structure that most good stories do. In the case of a case study, that usually means starting with the problem, the context, then talking about your approach, what you did, your particular solution, and then finally talking about the end product, the outcome, the result, what the client got out of it, what the benefits were. Which part of that, within that sort of basic structure, which part of that you choose to emphasize will depend on what you decide at the beginning. What is the story you're trying to tell? What is the key points that you want the client to take away? So, for example, if you're trying to show off your creds in a particular industry, then you might spend a bit more time in the introduction, the beginning section, not just talking about what the client's problem was, but maybe talking a bit more about who they are, some more context for who the client is. If you're trying to show off what's particular and unique about your approach, then obviously you're going to spend more time talking about that. If the most important thing is just showing off how good you are and how effective you are, how good the outcome was, then you might decide to also add something at the end, a testimonial or something, to show, to kind of make that final conclusion section a bit more substantial. In terms of the design, as well as just the content, you should be thinking at each stage about what you can do to bring that story to life. When we talk about the beginning, the middle and the end here, that shouldn't just be a paragraph of text for each. Think about what visuals you can add, what stats, quotes and things you can use both to break up the text but also to illustrate it and to bring it to life. A picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say, and so if you can find a visual that shows what you did, that shows what the outcome was, that can tell the story a lot better than just a paragraph where you talk about it and make claims. In some cases, if the project is a more confidential one, that might not always be an easy thing to do, but more on that in a minute. As well as visuals, another great thing to do can be to add some really striking stats. Some key numbers can really help to bring the case study home for the client, especially if they're really focused on the outcome. Equally, if you're worried about a prospective client kind of skimming over the case study and not really digging into the details, some key stats can really catch people's attention and make them more likely to dig into the actual rest of the content. One common challenge with case studies is where either the project itself or some details of it are commercially sensitive or otherwise confidential in some way, which can make it quite hard to just talk all about it in great detail and potentially quite hard to show any actual examples and visuals from it. One problem might be that you're not comfortable naming the client specifically in relation to that project. But you can get around that by, before you get onto your case studies, showing some examples of the clients you've worked with, and then when it comes to the anonymous case study, leaving it to the prospective clients to make the inference themselves. For the visuals, you might be able to anonymize things, whether that is dumming up the actual content and text if you're showing some screenshots of some work that you've done, or even in some cases maybe rebranding and changing the branding entirely if you want to remove any reference to a particular client. It can sound like that might be confusing, but often if it's a thumbnail that's appearing alongside some other explanation, you just need something to show the kind of outputs that you're creating, whether that is a report, a dashboard, a tool, a workshop, something like that. anonymizing examples of your other clients' work is something that IG can help with, as well as designing the case studies themselves. If you'd like our help to really bring those stories to life, get in touch. You can contact us via email or reach out to me directly on LinkedIn.